Hello and welcome to today's video. This is episode 69 of the Confessions of a Yarn Addict podcast. My name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns, I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website yarnaddict.co.uk. Welcome to today's video. As I said, this is episode 69. I'm going to talk about a couple of days out, trip to London. It's been a busy week. I have two kind of finished items. I have a new project. I have a project I've made quite a lot of progress on, and I have a potential new project, and I have a couple of magazines that I want to share with you. So quite a lot to go through today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. So I'm just going to talk about what I'm wearing first, because I'm going to have to take this off because it's quite warm in here. I've also worked out this morning and showered, got dressed, done my hair and my makeup, and then started filming. So I'm a little bit warm because I'm probably cooled down properly from my workout yet. So I'm going to tell you what this is, and then I'm going to take it off. There will be a separate video on this next week on, I think, probably Tuesday. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, then you'll be notified when it's ready. But this was published in Simply Knitting magazine. I've forgotten to look up the issue, but it was last summer. I will leave the issue below, and I will link to the Ravelry page below. I don't know whether it's available for sale individually on Ravelry. I know that the publisher behind The Knitter and Simply Knitting are selling some patterns on Ravelry. I don't know whether this one is. If it's not, I may self-publish it, but I don't know. I haven't made any decisions yet. So this was originally published in Simply Knitting magazine last summer when my sample knitters knitted it. So probably, I guess, about a year ago. And normally I can't wear anything I design for magazines because I'm not a size 10. So I was quite excited when the editor said she wanted to commission this design, but she wanted it in a larger size, and she gave me the chest measurement that she wanted it to fit, and I got really excited because I thought that's my bust measurement, so I can wear it. So that's quite exciting. So it has this lace panel on the side and on the sleeves, and then the rest is just in stocking stitch. And the thing I didn't like about it for me was the fact that it was quite cropped. So it was kind of waist length on me, which is what the original design was meant to be, but I don't personally really like that. I would only really wear it if I'm wearing dresses, and I don't actually wear dresses that often. The sleeves were also a tiny bit, not properly 3/4 length, but a little bit shorter. So kind of, I guess, about here on me. So I lengthened the sleeves, so they're now kind of, well, I guess kind of by my watch, maybe just wrist length. Because the sleeves are a bit wider, I didn't want them like full length, so I added about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 rounds to the sleeves. I'm just some markers in here which I haven't taken out, so we'll take that one out. And then I counted a minute ago, I think about 40 rounds to the bottom of the sweater, and I recorded a video that shows how I did that. So that will be out next week, either Tuesday or Thursday, I'm not sure yet. So I recorded how I picking here was fairly easy because it was my cast off edge, and picking here was a bit more difficult because that was the cast on edge. So that was a little bit trickier. So I filmed it, and then I also had to undo the side seams because it's a seamed garment. So I have filmed that, and that'll be out next week. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. I'm going to take this off now before I carry on with the rest of the video. So that was one of the garments that I've kind of finished. I haven't really finished it because I didn't knit the whole of it, but I did add some stuff to it, so I count that as a finish, kind of. The other thing I've finished or knitted since last time are these two. So that one has beads on the back as well, that one does not. But these two are some quick little projects. They won't be available generally. They are for my beaded workshop. So I'm teaching a beaded workshop on Friday at the Knitting Hotel. Knitting Hotel tends to book up a long time in advance, but sometimes you can get last minute spots if there's a cancellation. They also do day guests. It's always worth checking to see if you can come as a day guest, especially if you just want to come for the workshop. You might be able to come as a day guest. I'll put the Knitting Hotel's link below. But I'm doing a beaded project workshop. So I have some hand warmers that I designed a long time ago. I need to knit up another sample because I don't have this original sample anymore. I can't find it. And then I think a couple of people might want to do a shawl, so I'm going to get some shawl patterns and take with me. But I thought some people might not want to do anything with lace, and they might want to just a project they can finish in the weekend, because I'm teaching this on Friday. So fast knitters will probably be able to finish this in a day. Slower knitters will probably at least be able to finish half of it in a day. I finished each one of these in an evening. It didn't take me that long, but obviously I know what I'm doing when it comes to adding beads and stuff. So we're going to talk about adding beads, and I thought they would just be fun to have two quick little projects. What would you use this for? They could be used as decoration, they could be used as pin cushions. You can, instead of stuffing them with toy stuffing, which I've done, you could stuff them with like beans they use for like bean bags. You could use them as a little kind of thing in your wardrobe to put like cedarwood oil on to deter moths, or put them in your yarn stash. Those are things you can use these little things for. They're just a fun little project that doesn't take much yarn or much time, so people who want to can probably finish them on the day, or at least over the weekend that they're at a knitting hotel. So quite nice, quick, easy projects. I quite enjoyed knitting them. They were quite good fun. I spent like 2 evenings doing them, so I quite enjoyed that. So let's talk about the other stuff I've been knitting. I'm not going to talk about my Lang DK socks today because I haven't really worked on them since the last time I recorded, and I'm not really going to talk about my crochet blanket today because I haven't worked on that much. I mean, I've done a couple of rounds or rows, but really not very much, so I'm not going to talk about that today. But I have made a lot of progress on my socks. So beginning of the week, so I'm filming this on a Sunday 19th, and this is going to be posted on the Thursday the following week, whatever date that is. So this is recorded quite a few days before I post it, which is unusual, but my husband's working today, so I thought I would get a head start on the week, because recording and editing videos do take quite a long time, and I have quite a busy week this week, especially because this week just gone, I haven't done very much work. It's kind of been like a week off almost. So on last Sunday we went up to Wales to stay with my daughters. They share a house together in South Wales, so we went up and stayed with them on Sunday, and then on Monday morning one of my daughters and I got the train to London. So this was a bit of a last minute trip. We only planned it like 2 or 3 weeks before, I think. My daughter had got she's on the mailing list of the BBC. So the BBC, when they record programs that they need an audience for, they will basically, you can sign up for like a lottery, I guess. So you register your interest, and then they draw the people who get the tickets, and you're not guaranteed to get in, because they obviously, I think they assumably give out more tickets than they actually have, because obviously they need a full audience. So I imagine because it's free that sometimes people don't turn up, so you have to get to the BBC a bit early, a couple hours before the recording, just to make sure that you can get in. Obviously we live in Cornwall, my daughter lives in Wales. It's a long time to travel, so you've got to make sure that you get there in plenty of time. So we got the train up, we booked a hotel to stay overnight, so we left Wales about 10 o'clock on Monday morning. I would have preferred to have left earlier, but the earlier trains were quite expensive, so 10 o'clock was the first of the cheaper trains, so that's what we did. We were due to get into London about just after 12, like 10, quarter past 12 or something, which was great, because we thought, well, we paid for early checking out the hotel, so we thought we'll go to the hotel, check in, dump our luggage, get back on the tube into central London, do a few things. I wanted to go to a place like Harrods and Liberty, which is near the BBC. So we thought we'll just have a look around some of these shops, and then we will get something to eat, and then we'll go to the BBC and everything will be fine. The train was a little bit late leaving South Wales because there'd been a terrible storm overnight, so it was about 10 minutes late leaving, but that seemed fine. And then we got to Slough, which is just outside London, on the kind of outskirts of London, I guess. And things started going wrong. We weren't supposed to stop in Slough, but we did. And we stood there for a while, and then we moved on a little bit, and we stopped for a while. And it turned out that there was damage to the overhead cables in that area. So at one point, we stopped for quite a long time at the station. And the guard, or whoever makes the announcements, eventually said, we're opening the doors, so if you want to get out, you can do. If you want to get off the train here, you can do. But there are no other trains running in this area, so you'll have to get bus or taxi. So a few people got off. I noticed some people got back on again after a while. I looked at other options. The other option other than trains was the Elizabeth line, which runs on the train network, I think, or at least it did, because I could see one next to us at the station, and that wasn't moving either. So we were like, no, we'll just stay on the train. Anyway, we ended up being 2 hours late getting into London, nearly 2 hours late. So that was fine. We had plenty of time. So we thought we'll go to the hotel and that'll be fine. Also, when you're that late, you're actually entitled to a full refund. So we will be getting a full refund for that ticket. So that's good. Just before we got into London, my daughter got a text message on her phone basically saying that the BBC recording had been cancelled due to illness. So we were due to watch a comedian called Ellie Taylor. She was on Strictly last year, for those of you who are in the UK, and she used to be on Nish Kumar's The Mash Report. She's quite funny, and we both quite like her. So that's who was supposed to see her radio show. So anyway, that got cancelled. So we thought, oh, okay, well, that was the whole reason for going to London. So that was a bit disappointing. Anyway, we went to the hotel, dumped the luggage. Then we went back into London. We went to Harrods, had a look around. I mean, I can't really afford to buy much in Harrods. I bought some chocolate, but that's about it. I like looking at their luxury handbags. And then we went to Oxford Circus, and we went to Liberty, a couple other smaller shops, had some to eat, and John Lewis, I think. Just a few little shops. Didn't buy much. Back to the hotel, and then on Tuesday we got the tube to Paddington, dropped our luggage at left luggage. Then we went to King's Cross, and we walked from King's Cross along the canal to Camden, and very nice walk. And then because it was lovely, beautiful weather, quite warm, and then we went back to Paddington, had lunch, and got the train back. So it was a nice trip, but obviously the whole reason for us going didn't work out. But I did get a lot of knitting done, so I'll talk to you about my socks next. put this on the sock bucket because you can see it better then. So this yarn is from Spectrum Fibre, and it is Twisted Sock, I think. Twisted Sock in the colour Aqua even. It's 80% merino, 20% nylon, and it's 365 meters per 100 grams. So I finished the first one. I've done something slightly different on this one. I've used my Evan Tudor's pattern and knitted from the toe up, but I've done something slightly different. I've changed the way I've done the heel. So I do an afterthought heel, but what I quite often find is that the fabric can pull a bit over here on my feet because I got quite high instep and quite wide feet. So what I did this time, normally you do the heel on half the number of stitches. I did slightly less. Instead of 32 stitches, which I normally do, I did 28. It looked weird when I was knitting it, but it actually fits quite well on my foot. That's where I got to before we left London. So I knitted that bit, and then I knitted the rest of this. I think I finished this on the train back from London, I think. I do have some footage of me knitting on the train, and then I cast on for the second sock. And I didn't knit all this on the train. I can't remember where I got on the train, maybe halfway up the foot, I'm not sure. But we've been out and about quite a lot this week. So we've had Wednesday we were off, so we went to National Trust property on Dartmoor, then we went to the cinema, so I knitted a lot at the cinema, and I nearly got to where I put the afterthought or the waist yarn in for the afterthought heel. I was 6 rounds short of that, so I knitted 70 rounds in at the cinema. What did we see? It was a film with Lily James. It was very good, actually. It's about arranged marriage. What was it called? What's Love Got to Do with It, or something like that? It was very good. I did enjoy it. So I got to just probably about here. So I knitted 70 rounds in the cinema. And then we were in Plymouth on Thursday for a couple of hours. So I spent a bit of time in the coffee shop knitting while my husband went to do his contact lens check. And then yesterday we went out to National Trust property in Devon, and I sat in the coffee shop for a while. We were sitting outside on the terrace. It was beautiful, sunny and warm, and I did a bit of knitting then. So I've got quite a lot done. I've done, oops, let's look at my row counter, which I nearly dropped on the floor. So according to my row counter, I've done 43 rounds on the leg. So I think I did 90 or 95 rounds on the leg in total on the other sock. So I'm about halfway, so that's good. So making good progress on that. This is kind of my out and about socks. I'm not really knitting on them at home at all, but I've been out and about a lot this week. So I don't think I'll get much done on this in the next week because I haven't got any out and about days this week. But got a bit done on that. And then I have a new cast on. So I cast on, it's in my Botanical Yarns project bag, which you roll up like that, and then you clip it together. I really like it. I love this fabric with the splatters of pink and grey, but I wish the background was like, well, splatters of like gold and pink, I think it is actually. Looks like it's been splattered with paint, really. I really like it. I wish the fabric was like grey background. It's got a grey lining, and I wish the fabric on the outside was that background rather than the cream. I just worry about getting it dirty, so I haven't used it that much. But I bought some yarn when I was in Norway. Knitting for Olive silk. It's 100% silk. It's barrette silk, which I wasn't sure what was. So I looked it up. It's, let's see, I've got another colour here. It just says Knitting for Olive pure silk, 100% barrette silk, OEKO text standard 100. No idea what that means. 250 meters per 50 grams. It's like a very thin 4-ply, maybe like a 3-ply, I guess. Not quite lace thread, but thinner than a standard 4-ply. And it's quite loosely spun. It is 2, 3, hang on, just trying to see if I can, it's 4 strands, so I've just undone the strands at the end. It's got 4 strands, I think. I don't know, is it 3? I don't know. Anyway, it's quite a nice yarn. I bought, when I went to Norway 2020, I got this one plus 2 balls of blue, I think it was, which I can't find. There's somewhere in my mess of a stash back there, which I can't find. And then when I went to Norway last time in January, February, I got 2 balls of this. And I wasn't sure what to do with it. I thought maybe I'll do a shawl. I did think about doing a garment, but I didn't know how many to get. So I thought maybe I'll combine them with the colours I've already got. I think these two would go nicely together. I can't find the blue ones. But then I thought, no, I actually want to knit a sweater just in this. So that's what I'm doing. So I will need to get some more yarn. I cast on, and I've cast on a lot of stitches because obviously this is for me and I'm knitting it in the round, so it's quite a lot of stitches. I cast on, I did the garter stitch at the bottom, I did that back and forth, and then I joined when I was about to start the lace. And I did that last Sunday when we were going to Wales because I thought I would take it with me. I thought it'd be good train knitting. So Sunday evening, I guess it was, sitting at my daughter's, I finished the garter stitch, I joined it. I was very careful to try and make sure I joined it in the round without getting a twist. Normally if you knit a few rows first, that makes it easier to join in the round without getting a twist. I checked it really carefully. After the first round of knitting in the round, I had needles that were a lot longer than this. I do find it easier on shorter needles, I think. And I thought I hadn't twisted it. No, after the first round, I thought I'd got a twist in it. It's difficult to tell when you have so many stitches. So I untwisted it, and then a couple of rounds later, I realised that I did have a twist. So when I thought I'd untwisted it, I'd probably added a twist. So I picked out those 3 rounds I'd done of lace, and then I thought I can't bother to take this to London. Plus a luggage, because we shared a suitcase. A luggage was fuller than I thought it would be. I couldn't take a very big bag with me to the BBC because there are rules on that, so I had to borrow a bag for my daughter because the bag I'd brought to carry with me in London was too big. Obviously we didn't need to worry about that because that all got cancelled, but so I decided to abandon this. So I left it at home, and then when we got back on Wednesday, I picked it up again and started knitting. So I've been knitting on it a few times since, quite a bit yesterday evening. I do have 300 and something stitches. Let's have a look. 320 stitches. That's a lot of stitches. So I'm got a lace panel that's probably about that long, 10-15 centimeters maybe. I haven't decided yet. And then the rest is going to be stocking stitch. I haven't quite decided on the construction method, if it's going to be, I'm thinking maybe dropped shoulders, but I'm not sure yet, so we'll see. I haven't really planned this sweater very well. I did work out how much yarn I would need. I noticed that Beautiful Knitters in Pimlico yarn shop in London, they sell this yarn. So I was thinking when we went to London whether I could go there and get some more, but it just was going to be too difficult to do it. But we are going to London again in about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So I will definitely go to Beautiful Knitters then because we'll have a bit more time. But if I get a lot of progress done on that and I start the second ball, then I will order online. One thing I did check that they had that colourway, and they do. One thing I have to be a little bit careful about is obviously I won't be able to match the dye lot, so I do have to be a bit careful about that. So I will talk when I get that far about how I will try and blend in the colours so that the dye lot problem won't be an issue. But more about that, I'll see what progress I make. I have some yarn coming for a new design that I need to finish by sometime in April. So it may be that this goes on hold for a little bit. It may be that I carry on knitting on it. I don't know. At the moment, it's my priority project till something else comes along and takes up more of my time. So those are kind of the 2 projects I've been working on most of the time. And then I've got another project I'm planning to make. So I think I may have mentioned this when I went to Norway. After I came back, when I went to Norway, I ordered some stuff, two frames for 2 clutches from Petite Knit. There is Petite Knit who's in Denmark, and there's the Petite Knitter, who's in Alaska or north of Canada, something like that. So they are different. This is the Danish one. So I ordered the frames for 2 different bags and the lining. I talked about that in a previous podcast, so I'm not going to go over it now. But so she's got 2 bags. One's called the Winter Clutch, I think, and one's called the Teddy Clutch. I bought the Winter Clutch pattern, which is a smaller one. Teddy Clutch comes in a large and a small pattern. But I was struggling to find the yarn, and I haven't checked if this yarn is okay actually, but I think it will be. So the yarn that she used I couldn't find anywhere, but somebody suggested I try Drops Alpaca Boucle. So it's a boucle yarn that she used for the Teddy Clutch, and I'd like to use a boucle yarn. I need to check if this will knit to the right tension. It looked like it probably will, but I haven't checked it yet. So I got that grey colour. I would have liked like a bright pink, of course, or bright green or something a little bit brighter, but they only seem to do it in neutrals where I could find it. I didn't spend ages searching around for it, but I got this grey and that grey. So I don't know what I'm going to knit first. The Winter Clutch is a different stitch pattern. I can't remember exactly what, and I haven't worked out what yarn to knit that with yet, but that only comes in the smaller size. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do the Teddy Clutch first, because that comes in the larger size, and then use my larger frame and larger lining for that, because she sells the lining like pre-sewn, so I guess you can just stitch it into the top of the bag, and also the frame for the top of the bag. So I'll probably do the Teddy Clutch large size first, and then decide whether I want to do the Teddy Clutch in the small size, or whether I want to do the Winter Clutch, or whether I don't want to do either of them. Who knows? So I think I'm going to choose that yarn, the darker grey. I am thinking about actually vlogging it, because I don't very often knit from other people's patterns. In fact, it's very, very rare. So I might actually vlog it as I do it, but might cast on this week, I might not. I haven't decided yet, but that's arrived. Okay, a couple of other things that have arrived is let's talk about this one first, because this arrived first. So Let's Knit magazine, April issue, which is issue 195. I was hoping my design would be on the cover, because in the previous issue, when they had like what's in the next issue, it showed my design. So I was kind of hoping you might be on the cover, but it's not, but that's fine. This is probably a bit more spring-like for the cover. Very pretty sweater. There's some like Easter stuff, accessories, garments, like some novelty type things. That is my design. I have released a video. It is a steeked cardigan, so it's knitted in the round from the top down with a circular yoke. It's got a stranded colourwork pattern on the yoke. You can not steek it and just have it as a sweater. So it's not been knitted with. Normally when you do a steek garment, you will have some steek stitches where you're going to cut it. So either at the front or for the armhole, wherever you're going to cut it. So steeking basically means that you're going to cut the garment. So if you knit a sweater, you can cut it down the front to turn it into a cardigan. Now normally you would have some steek stitches. I didn't do that with this one, because I thought that if people want to knit it but they're a bit scared about steeking it, they can just wear it as a sweater. And then in the future, if they decide they're brave enough to steek it, they can steek it. So if you're wearing it as a sweater, it would look a bit like that. That's actually the garment back to front, so the neckline would be a little bit lower, because there is a bit of neck shaping, but I think they just did that to demonstrate what it would look like. So it has 3/4 length sleeves. It's knitted top down, so you can adjust the length of the body and the sleeves and make the body longer or shorter. If you make it longer, you might need more yarn. You can also do the same thing with the sleeves, make them longer. So if you want full length sleeves, you can just try it on as you go and keep going. So I've done a video showing you how I steeked this garment. So that was posted on my YouTube channel last week, I think it was. There's also a link to that in the magazine. I also have an online course called Scandinavian Stranded Colourwork and Steeking. So stranded colourwork is just a different term for fair owl, really. Fair owl is specific to a region. Stranded colourwork is any kind of stranded colourwork. It's the same technique. So I have a Scandinavian Stranded Colourwork and Steeking online course, which I'll link below as well. So if you would like more tuition to take you through how to knit stranded colourwork, I show you how to knit with both colours in, one colour in each hand. So yeah, one colour in one hand, one in the other. So you knit continental with one hand, English style with the other. So I'll show you how to do that, and I'll show you how to do both colours continental style the way I do. I'll show you how to make sure your floats are nice and even and your colour work is smooth and even, and how to reinforce the steek, how to cut it, and how to pick up stitches and all that kind of stuff in my online course. It's quite comprehensive, so I will link that below. And then, but then I do have a tutorial just for how I steek this cardigan. It's not as in-depth as the stranded colorwork course, but I just basically filmed myself doing it. And then I did what's called a so that you can see it on here, what's called a corrugated rib, and it's a knit one, purl one rib in the two colors. And I did that, and then when I came to do the buttonholes, I was like, how do I do my favorite one row buttonholes with the corrugated rib? So I had to figure that out. So I recorded that as well, so I'll post that video below as well. So there are 2 tutorials for this garment. Obviously you can watch the tutorials without buying the magazine because it's on my YouTube channel. So quite excited about that. The yarn for this is I think it's King Cole. Yes, it's King Cole Merino Blend DK, which is a really nice yarn that I've used over the years from time to time, and I really liked it. I actually started a sweater for my husband using that yarn 15 years ago maybe. So yeah, and I still haven't finished it. That's the design on the cover, and that is all the garments, adult size garments in this issue. So yeah, very excited. I'm very sad that Let's Knit is going, because I've been designing for Let's Knit since, I did look it up the other day, is it 2007? 2006, 2007, I think. So I've been designing for them for years, and for several years I was in virtually nearly every single issue. Then I had a few years where I didn't design for them as much, just because I was teaching a lot, and then last year I've been doing a lot more designs for them again. So I'm really sad they're going, because I do have a bit of a soft spot for Let's Knit, because they were the previous editor of Let's Knit, Sarah, was the first editor of like mainstream knitting magazine that took a chance on me and commissioned a design for me when I was an unknown designer, and I'd only designed for like a self-published magazine. So this was like my first mainstream magazine, so I do feel quite sad that Let's Knit is going. Hopefully I'll have one more design. I don't know whether it's the next issue or the issue after, but yeah, it's a bit sad. I think it maybe is in the issue after the next one. But that's Let's Knit, that's in the shops in the UK now, issue 195. It's been in the shops for a couple of weeks, I think, so do hurry up if you want to get it. And I will link those 2 tutorials below. This is the yarn bookazine from Skepius, I think it is. Sheepius, whatever you want to call it. I think it's pronounced Skepius, but I'll say Sheepius. It's issue number 15. I had a pattern in the last issue as well. I think these come out twice a year. Yeah, maybe twice a year. I had one in the last issue, a really pretty shawl. I have another shawl in this issue. That is my shawl. This is fabulous issue. It's called Metamorphosis, and there is like a sort of insect theme throughout this issue. So I'm just going to flick to the patterns. I'll show you a few of the patterns. There are crochet and knitted patterns, and they tend to do 2 samples. That's a crochet pattern. They tend to do 2 samples of each design. So there are different kind of like themes, moth themed. So this is my design, and I think it was inspired by the muslin moth. I think, yes, muslin moth. I'm in the muslin moth section, so I think the idea was that the magazine would kind of mimic a moth. So they've also done some like fancy stuff with the camera there, with the editing, and these are all the photographs. So I knitted one sample, and my neighbour actually knitted the other. I can't remember which one she knitted. I think she knitted the lighter one, I knitted the darker one, but I can't remember. I let her choose because they were going to return her sample to her so she could keep it, so I let her choose. So she knitted one, I knitted the other one. It's knitted in Skepi's Whirligig, which is a DK yarn, I think. Where is the pattern? Let me just look up the yarn details. So the shawl is called the Transition Shawl, and it is Sheepies Whirligig, which is 20% alpaca, 80% wool. It's 450 grams, and it has 1,000 meters. And one of the colorways we use goes from grey to lavender, and one goes from plum to pink. So you need one yarn cake, 450 grams. It has really long color changes. So yeah, it's amazing yarn. Really enjoyed knitting that. My sample knitter, my neighbour knitted hers, and I think we both enjoyed knitting it. It was the first time she's done any sample knitting for me, so I think she found that an interesting challenge. But yeah, I like it. It's a fabulous issue. It has other things in it as well, so it has things to read. Thing about rewilding. It has like bee kind of theme. These cushions are by another British designer called Lynn Rowe. She does a lot of crochet as well. They have like a fun little bee sweater that's crochet. So there's lots of different kind of designs in here, mix of crochet and knitting. And there's articles. This one's quite a sort of fun, quirky, insect themed issue. They have a theme every issue. They have like a behind the scenes thing. That's really pretty. That's knitted. I like the fact that they're doing knitting and crochet, and there are some like beautiful designs. This is a crochet shawl, and there are wearable designs, and there are some fun, quirky designs. And yeah, it's a fun magazine, and it has articles as well. So one of the things I've heard criticised is that it's a little bit expensive. It is £9.95. This is the English version. I assume they do a Dutch version as well. They have international designers, British, European designers. I don't know if they use American designers, but they probably do. And it is a proper, like a book. It's quite thick. It has quite a lot of designs. All the photos are at the front of the book, and then all the patterns are at the back. Well written patterns. It's just it's a fun book. It's really well done. So yes, it's a little bit more expensive than maybe a magazine is, but it has a lot more patterns than a magazine does, and I really like it. It's cheaper than a book, and I just, especially if you crochet and knit, I think it's a really fun bookazine, because it has crochet patterns and knitting patterns. So you can find this in the shops now in the UK and around Europe. It has dollars pricing on here as well, so I'm assuming it's available from the States. I've used Sheepies yarns quite a few times now, especially for, I've done 2 or 3 designs for Knitting Magazine using this yarn. Done 2 designs for the yarn bookazine. So I've used it a few times now, and I've used 3, 4, 5, probably 5 of their yarns, and I really like it. It's a really nice yarn. They're really nice yarns to knit with, and they're quite affordable, I think. So do look out for that. I think that is it for today. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you. I don't think so. I think this has been quite a long episode. One thing I did want to say is, I'm just going to get my notebook out because I did write this down. So last week I had 2 videos. One was on 4 designs I designed for Models of Uruguay, their UK distributor. Those patterns are available in Ravelry. I'll link to that video. I think I talked about it in the last podcast episode as well, but I'll link to that video below, and below that video you can see all the links to the Ravelry pages. Those patterns are out now, and then I also had a video last week on substituting yarn. So if you are worried about substituting yarn, if that scares you a bit, then I've got a video talking you through a few things you need to think about for substituting yarn. So I'll link that below as well. And next week there'll be 2 videos again. One will be how I lengthened the sweater. The other one, I don't know yet. We'll see. I need to film something. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and leave me a comment. Thank you to those who commented on last week's video. I was in a bit of a knitting funk last week. I seem to have gotten out of that now, which is good. So yeah, I'm going to go and sit and knit for the rest of the day because it is a Sunday. We're going to take the dog out soon. It was sunny earlier, it's clouding over a bit now, but it is getting warmer. It feels like spring is in the air. It was lovely yesterday, really, really nice and warm. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.